If you're struggling with focus, I've got a few tips for you to help you stay free from distractions and accomplish more.
Power to Live More with Joe Dodds.
Welcome to the Power to Live More podcast, all about productivity, organisation, well-being, energy and resilience. Welcome to the Power to Live More in-between show. Every other week, I share an interview with an interesting guest sharing their top tips, tools and strategies about how they use their power to live more. In between, I share my own content along with a summary of the tools, tips and strategies shared in the previous week's interview in the form of Joe's Gems. Are you productive or just busy? Have you ever seen someone who seems to be busy all the time but doesn't really get anything done? Do you feel that sometimes you're in the same boat? How do you know if you're productive or just busy? Do you have goals? People who are productive generally have goals and focus all of their work on achieving those goals. Of course, there are always going to be distractions, but those distractions don't take priority over the big picture. Do you focus or multitask? People who multitask often seem very busy. They're always doing something, but they're rarely doing any one thing very well. You'll be more productive if you focus on doing one thing at a time. Do you delegate? Sometimes you may take on tasks that would really be better to delegate to someone else. If you work alone at your business, this might be very difficult, but you might be able to delegate personal tasks while keeping your focus on business tasks. Do you say no? People who are productive know how to say no to something that's going to take them away from their own important work. It's okay to say no when you really don't have time to fit in one more thing. Do you let some things go? It may sound counterproductive to get rid of some tasks from your to-do list, but you may find that you've given yourself tasks that really won't move your vision forward and will take up extra time. So it's okay to scratch something off that list and go a different way. Do you have a schedule? People who are productive tend to have a schedule for each day of what needs to be done and when. If you're not planning ahead, chances are you're staying busy but not productive. Do you complete projects? You can be busy doing something all day long every day and never get a project completed. If you find you're starting a lot of things without finishing them, it's time to look at your priorities and become more productive. Do you feel peace? When you spend your time very busy but not accomplishing much, you might feel a sense of anxiety. You may worry about all the things you need to do that aren't getting done. But when you're productive, you can actually feel peace when it comes to work. You know what's important and you have a plan to get it done on time. Being more focused leads to productivity. In a world where instant gratification is treasured and you rarely have to watch more than a few moments of a soundbite, it can be hard to stay focused and productive, but being focused is absolutely necessary to be productive. If you're struggling with focus, I've got a few tips for you to help you stay free from distractions and accomplish more. Set up a physical boundary. No matter what environment you work in, setting a physical boundary can help minimise distractions. If you have an office with a door, shut it when you need to focus. If you're in a working space, post a polite sign asking not to be disturbed. If you have a home office, make sure your family and friends are aware that when you're working they need to respect that space, and it can help if you can set up an office in a room that isn't used for other things. Make a daily task list. It helps to get more done throughout the day if you keep a list of what needs to be done where you can see it. This can be posted on your computer desktop, on a whiteboard, or kept on a notepad by your desk. Try to have a list with no more than 12 things on it for each day. If you have larger tasks, keep the list shorter. You don't want to become overwhelmed with what you need to do, but you do need a visual reminder of what needs to be done each day. Make the most of time management apps. If you find yourself easily distracted by email, social media, and other sites that are time wasters, you may want to take advantage of computer apps that lock those down. Some examples include Self-Control and Cold Turkey. And these programs will automatically block specific sites so that you can't be distracted by them. You can set a time limit and you can decide which ones to block or to keep free. Use a timer. It's impossible to be completely focused on a task for hours at a time, and you might find it helpful to set a timer for 25 minutes that will allow you to stay focused for that time, and then give yourself a 5-minute break to get a drink of water, walk around a bit, or just take your mind off work so that you can feel refreshed. Dividing work into smaller chunks can keep it from feeling overwhelming and boring. It can also keep you from feeling like procrastinating on a big project that will be time-consuming. The app that I recommend for this is called Focus Time, or you can use something called Focus at Will, which plays music or sounds for you, but also sets a timer during that time and works in a similar sort of way. Do the worst tasks first. For some people, it's helpful to just get the worst tasks over with before getting on with the rest of the day. You might have heard of the phrase eat the frog. This is a good solution for procrastination and leaves the rest of the day free for the tasks that you enjoy. I don't tend to do that. I tend to do some small things first that are quite easy to do to sort of warm me up before I do the big, overwhelming task that I don't want to do. But I still do it early in the day for the same reason, so that the rest of the day doesn't feel quite so onerous. Dealing with distractions. In a perfect world, you'd be so focused on your work that nothing could distract you. But in the real world, it doesn't always work that way, does it? In fact, it rarely works that way. So how do you deal with inevitable distractions and keep your productivity levels high? There are many different things that can cause you to feel distracted. Constant phone calls and emails that seem to need urgent replies can often be a source of distraction. And you may also have co-workers who want to have conversations, either work-related or social. And there's also the entire online world of information, including social media, that you can turn to. Even if you only plan to check a source for a moment, you can waste hours without even realising it. And if you work from home, you may feel the pull of household duties and chores. Often when people work from home, relatives and friends imagine that they're not busy and they find ways to keep popping round to interrupt work time. Even if you're surrounded with distractions, you can set up a work environment to combat them and be productive. First, it's important to establish priorities for your day. With most businesses, it's impossible to avoid phone calls and emails that need to be returned, but you can set aside a specific time of the day that you'll handle those replies and that communication. So, for example, you might decide that the first thing you'll do each morning is respond to your new emails or phone calls, and you'll do that twice more throughout the day. In the meantime, you'll keep distractions down by sending calls to voicemail and shutting down your email. It doesn't work for every office environment, but it can work for many. If you really enjoy social media or social time with co-workers, you can schedule that in instead of letting it become a distraction. For example, you can plan your lunch break to be a time to relax and do things that take your mind off work, or you can schedule 2 or 3 10-minute breaks throughout the day for social time. Knowing that you've got that coming can help you stay motivated on task the rest of the time. And if you work from home, it's necessary to set boundaries with people in your life so that work takes a priority. You don't have to answer every phone call. And if you feel household chores calling your name on a daily basis, then schedule time to work on those so you don't have to spend time thinking about them or getting distracted by them. And finally, if you're distracted by ideas that hit you throughout the day, then write them down. Keep a notepad nearby so you can write that down. What I tend to do is I add things to my to-do list into the inbox of my to-do list app, and then every morning I go through the inbox for my to-do list and reorganise it and put those particular tasks into the right days and into the right sections and so on. But it means that I can just add things to it as the day goes through, rather than having to sort of spend my time being distracted by thinking about things that I need to do and trying to remember that I need to do them later. Hopefully you found that useful, finding out a bit more about how to stay focused and how to minimise the distractions that may come your way.
Joe's Gems.
This is the part of the show where I do a recap of the key points of last week's interview, the stuff that I really liked, and the apps, books, tips and tools that were shared. Last week I had the pleasure of chatting with Amechi Udo, founder of Your Career Matters, a company dedicated to helping individuals and business executives achieve their career potential, create the careers they deserve, and hire and motivate their teams within their organisations. Amechi's entrepreneurial journey began 15 years ago after attending a coaching workshop hosted by Nick Williams, the author of The Work We Were Born to Do. During our discussion, we talked about the importance of hiring a coach, joining a mastermind group, and networking, and how these things can help you stay accountable, productive, profitable, and give you the power to live more. We talked about the power of networking. In this business world, the term networking comes up in general discussion all the time. A lot of home-based entrepreneurs, though, especially new entrepreneurs, can overlook the sheer power and driving force that networking can have on their business or career. Amechi explained how networking and chatting with other like-minded entrepreneurs early in his coaching career helped pave the path to his success. Amechi talked about how when he first started coaching, a lady called Judy Shaw introduced him to the London Coaching Group, who are a live group that meet every month. And Amechi went from being very much on his own to actually connecting with people at these meetings. And he said that was in the days of email, early days of email, where he said it was the squeaky noise dial-up. So they exchanged emails, and that group has now evolved into a Facebook group called the Euro Coach List, which is a closed group, and you can be part of it if you're interested in coaching or you currently coach and you want some more company and connections. We talked about juggling the work-life balance thing, and actually I don't like to say balance, I like to call it work-life integration. And Amechi talked about how he does like to have a healthy balance between the two, so he does like using that word. He talked about a grid technique that he read about in the book Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, which was to create a grid and divide the box into columns and rows, and then in each box put things that you have in your life, like your work, your family, your friends, your holidays, your hobbies, and so on, and then take the word work out of one of those boxes, whichever one it is, and what's left is the rest of your life. And so it is about putting time into each of those sections, not just about work being such a big part of it. And Amechi talked about how he likes watching TED Talks for learning and personal development. And he said that there's a great talk by Nigel Marsh about work-life balance that he recommends people watch. And he actually finishes by saying the long and the short is that life and work don't balance, which I think is sort of what I say anyway. We spent quite a bit of time talking about getting things done and productivity, and Amechi shared various tips, apps and resources that he recommends to keep him organised and getting on and being productive throughout his day. We talked about things like iPhone notes and audio recording apps, Audio Acrobat, something called Crowdfire. We talked about LinkedIn, the app for your iPhone or Android, and how useful that can be to keep up with what's going on LinkedIn. We talked about books by John Williams called Screw Work, Break Free and Screw Work, Let's Play. We also talked about watching Lou Adler on YouTube and the TED Talk that I've already mentioned by Nigel Marsh, How to Make Work-Life Balance, and then a book by Ian McDermott called Manage Yourself, Manage Your Life. And we also talked about how things that are perhaps less important can sometimes get done at the expense of actually the important things. So you end up, cleaning the house, and my particular favourite is cleaning the oven as a way of procrastinating and stopping doing the things that you really should be doing. So how it's really important to focus on the big stuff that really needs to get done. And when we talked about handling the bad days, Amechi talked about being very aware of emotions and letting that emotion out. And as he said, getting it off your chest so that you don't end up sort of blowing out at something, much smaller and less important, like the toothpaste not having its lid on it. So he talked about, getting rid of that emotion when there are issues so that they don't cause further issues. And then we also talked about how he celebrates the small daily wins. So the days that he feels that he's had the opportunity to live more, he talks about how much he's enjoyed those days. And you just need to sort of revel in that moment and remind yourself that you have enjoyed that. When we talked about getting in contact with Amechi, then you can go to his website, which is Your Career Matters. He's also keen to connect up with people on LinkedIn, or you can email him Amechi, AMECHI, at yourcareermatters.co.uk. All this information is available in the show notes on the website powertolivemore.com/ in this case 32. The website is the place to go if you want to find out how I can help you to improve your productivity, organisation, well-being, energy and resilience, your power, to live more, do more of what you want to do. If you have a specific need to improve your productivity, organisational wellbeing, you can talk to me about how I can help you. If you use powertolivemore.com/power chat, you can book in for a free call with me. Again, the link for this show is powertolivemore.com/32, and we look forward to speaking to you next time.
Use your power to live more.